Hello YouTube, it is your boy B3, back with another kicking movie reaction review. Been doing a lot of movies with killers, whether they be supernatural or not. So I wanted to get back to the thing I love most in this world. Monsters. Yes, monsters! And today we are actually doing a film that I've wanted to watch for a long time, just never got around to it. But I did find it on Amazon Prime Video, and I was like, oh, hell yeah, let's absolutely watch this. Jack Brooks, Monster Slayer from 2007. It is an R-rated horror comedy that runs about an hour and a half. The reason I even knew about this movie was because it's a trailer on some of my other monster movies. I think my Blu-ray of Frankenstein's Army might have this as a trailer on it. Hard to remember. I got so many movies with so many trailers. But Jack Brooks' Monster Slayer always looked like something I'd really enjoy. It has a lot of monsters, and it's like all practical effects. I think I might have seen CGI like twice in the whole film, and it was very minimal and well done. Yeah, it's almost entirely practical effects, and if you've watched even one of my reviews, you know that I adore practical effects, like from Alien here. It's got a 5.9 out of 10 on IMDb, a 61% on Rotten Tomatoes, and a 3.5 out of 5 on Vudu. And 86% of Google users liked the film. So, Jack Brooks, played by Trevor Matthews, develops major anger issues after he witnesses his parents' murder. Jack's girlfriend, played by Rachel Scarson, is fed up and demands he attend anger management classes, which, in all fairness, was a good idea. She was a terrible person, too. Well, I don't want to say too, because he's not a bad person. He has anger issues because of his trauma, but underneath those anger issues, Jack Brooks is a good person, and she is a bad person. One night, while repairing pipes for his professor, Professor Gordon Crowley, played by horror icon Robert Englund, Freddy Krueger himself. I think he was also in The Midnight Man, other things. He's going to be in Stranger Things. He's probably in Stranger Things by the time this comes out. I'm recording this like a full month before it airs. Jack unintentionally unleashes a demonic evil that transforms Crowley into a monster. The evil spreads, transforming anyone in sight into monsters as well, and Jack must harness his anger in order to defeat them. Release date August 15th, 2008. It says 2007 here. It says 2008 here. What's up with that? Director John Knotts. Budget $2.5 million Canadian dollars. Producers Trevor Matthews, Neil Begman, and Patrick White. Story by Trevor Matthews, John Knotts, John Anslow, and Patrick White. Starring Trevor Matthews, who not only plays Jack, but he also actually plays the monster that killed his parents, which is kind of cool. The Forest Troll, I believe it was called. There's Robert Englund, Rachel Scarson, David Fox, James A. Woods, yeah, Daniel Cash, and Stephanie Drummond. Yeah. This was a dope film. This was quite a dope film. I really liked it. Once again, the effects were incredible. They were all really, really good, fantastic practical effects. They were like suits and puppets and heavy cosmetics and stuff, and yeah, it's almost entirely practical effects, which you know I love, right? There's nothing better in this world than a good practical effect. Like, wow. So he's attending anger management. Okay, let's start at the beginning, okay? I'm going to give you like basically a whole walkthrough here. So if you don't want spoilers, leave now, okay? But it is a good movie. So, on that final note, let's get into spoilers territory. So the film starts with a Cyclops in some forest attacking these kind of tribal indigenous people. And then we see a man with a big bite mark on his arm in a tent preparing for a battle. That man is Jack Brooks. It's kind of a flash forward to what he will become by the end of this film. And then we go to the Jack whose story we're following, He is a plumber with heavy, heavy, heavy anger management issues, like bad anger management issues. His girlfriend is just a horrible person who's like always forcing him to do stuff. She's like, even though he has a job as a plumber, she's forcing him to attend night classes at her school. But he's just taking one class, like this kind of what seems like a general science class. And I don't really see the point of him taking that class in the context of all this. I think she just doesn't like him and wants him to be better. The anger management was a good suggestion. Of course, if you have anger problems, you should seek help. That being said, his counselor doesn't really seem to even care about him that much. His counselor seems to be annoyed by him, and he always breaks out into a rage whenever he's there. Yeah. But they do have kind of a breakthrough, and Jack kind of tells him about his parents' death, and he tells Jack he has to face that and forgive himself. But yeah, he's attending these night classes. His professor is played by Robert Englund, and he seems to be a very nice man, very passionate about teaching and science, and he's repairing this old house, and he wants Jack to come help him fix the plumbing. Jack comes and tries, and then there's kind of like this backup in the plumbing that causes kind of a rift to open in the yard, where the professor kind of discovers this box full of human remains, and in that box is this black heart, and the black heart kind of takes possession of him. The black heart, as we learn from an old man, so apparently the old man that owns like the hardware store that Jack uses for work, apparently he used to live in that house, and his uncle got possessed by the black heart, and he had to kill his uncle and bury him, because his uncle turned into a demon who ate their dog and then tried to eat him. Right? Dude, when I saw the professor's dog and then the professor was like possessed and looking for a bunch of food, I was like, this dog better not get eaten. That the professor did end up eating his own dog while possessed by the demon. We do not see it. But then later, in the flashback about how the black heart got where it was when it was discovered by the professor, we do in fact see a man eating a terribly made, like, dog corpse. And I think we see that same dog corpse later when we see the forest troll again. It's eating, like, the same dog puppet, which is funny. It was really funny. But, so he gets possessed, and then when Jack's at, like, night classes and stuff, the professor turns into a monster and starts turning all the other students in the class into monsters. He turns like 3 of them into these kind of zombie-possessed demon-y things. I thought the demons were going to like drag people back to him to turn them into more monsters, but they actually just killed people. So I think the head honcho monster uses his tentacles to capture people and turn them into monsters, and he sends those monsters out in the world to just kill as much as possible, basically. So a few students are killed by the monsters, a few students are turned into monsters, and 1 student is actually eaten by the head honcho demon monster. And Jack and his girlfriend actually get out of the school successfully, and they're driving away, and she's just screaming at him, just laying into him. And then he stops, and he remembers what the therapist said about facing your family's death and confronting it and forgiving yourself and etc. And he's like, I have to kill these monsters. I couldn't do anything about the monster that killed my parents, because his little sister and both his parents were killed by the forest troll in the woods when on their annual camping trip. He's like, couldn't save them, but I can save these people. So he forces his now ex-girlfriend out of the van, turns around, and like straps all these plumbing tools and stuff to himself. And he like uses his plumber's tools to fight the monster, and then he looks like he hooks up with another girl by the end, because there was this woman in his class that he was interested in, she was interested in him, and his girlfriend was obviously interested in another dude who got turned into a monster and killed by Jack. But see, when a horror film starts, and let's say your main character has a boyfriend or girlfriend, don't expect that boyfriend or girlfriend to survive. They will get killed. Alright? They will get killed. Happened in Boogeyman, which we reviewed as well. And it didn't happen in this film. I really thought she was going to get killed because they were like always arguing and all this stuff. And then her being killed would make room for the other chick. But they actually just broke up, which is fine. yeah, if the horror movie starts and the main character has, like, a husband or wife or something, then the film might revolve around them having to save that spouse and saving the spouse by the end. But if it's just boyfriend and girlfriend, one of them's gonna die, pretty much. Especially if you're already teasing another love interest while they have a girlfriend, which is also what happened in this film and Boogeyman 2005. So, he kills these monsters. He defeats them. He even uses a science experiment, some science knowledge that he learned in class to defeat the monster. I totally caught that foreshadowing. I knew it would happen. He uses that to defeat the monster. And I honestly thought that was really cool. You know, I like it when they defeat the monster in a smart way. Like, I reviewed Killers from Space a while back. Killers from Space is an objectively bad movie, but they use just science and brains to defeat the aliens. Like, they don't use any weapons at all to defeat the aliens. And I was like, that's really cool. That's really unique. If you just blow every monster's head off with a shotgun, then it's like, well, okay. But if you do something interesting like that takes some smarts, like, you know, it's much cooler. It really is much cooler to me. Really enjoyed that. So, after he defeats these monsters and hooks up with that chick, he kind of decides that he's not going to be a plumber anymore. He is going to become a monster hunter, and he seems to be a pretty damn good one. He goes back to the woods where his family was killed, and he does kill the forest troll that took out his family. Then we see him with the indigenous people again, and he confronts the Cyclops, and then it ends right before the fight with the Cyclops, which I knew it would. That was expected. Just to end on that note. Good note to end on. And this is a very good film. It was a very good film. I've already talked about the practical effects enough. I think the sets were good. It seems like whenever they were in the woods or something, it was like a set, but I feel like the school and like the street and the hardware store seemed like they were actual locations. The acting was not bad at all, you know? I'd say it was pretty average movie acting. I enjoyed it very much. The monsters had cool designs. The head honcho monster was kind of freaky and weird looking, but it's fine. Monsters are kind of supposed to be freaky and weird looking now, aren't they? I mean, our xenomorph is literally intentionally phallic. I don't know if you know that, but the xenomorph is intentionally phallic. The movie's about sexual violence. Just wow, this is a good film. Really good film. I really love the work on it. It had some good shots. It had some pretty good choreography with the fights. And I want to say they just had good direction, you know? They did just a plain out, flat, good job on this film. They did a good job. And it's, as I mentioned earlier, it's kind of a horror comedy. You guys know that I don't really like horror comedies, because they usually lean towards, most of the horror comedies I've seen lean towards the comedy, and then there's really no horror. You know? But in this film, the comedy was actually pretty minimal. The comedy mostly happens in, like, his everyday life. And it's pretty light comedy, but it happens in his everyday life. None of the comedy really happens when the monsters finally show up. The monsters themselves aren't comedic, which is good. I always say that in order for a horror comedy to be good, the thing that is supposed to be horrifying has to be played completely straight. The monster can't be, you know, cracking the jokes and stuff. Like, remember, I don't think I ever reviewed Feast. I should do that at some point. But in Feast, like, it was a horror comedy, but the monsters were, like, humping each other, and then the baby monster was, like, fucking a mounted moose head on the wall or something, and the monsters were always humping. And I was like, okay, well, they're not scary to me now, because every time I look at them, I just think of them humping. Right? Now they're not scary. you know? But, yeah, they balanced the horror and comedy pretty well. It was actually much more horror than comedy. I wouldn't really call the film scary at all. It's almost more action-y, kind of, in a way, towards the end. They kind of throw the comedy out, and they're like, all right, replace the comedy with action, and it worked. I wouldn't call it scary. I don't think it's a scary movie, but it's pretty damn cool. Jack Brooks' Monster Slayer is a dope film with a good cast, good writing, great special effects, good direction. I mean, it's definitely a film that I'll be revisiting in the future. I genuinely enjoyed it. So that is it for Jack Brooks' Monster Slayer. Thank you all very much for your support. Remember to rate, comment, and subscribe. Check out all the cool links in the description below. Facebook, Twitter, etc. Hopefully the next review will finally be over Friday the 13th Part 2. I'm kind of spacing it out from the first Friday the 13th. I did the Hellraiser, the first two Hellraisers, like one after the other, but I think I'm going to kind of start to try to spread these films out maybe a little more. I don't know. It all depends on what's going on. But that's it. Thank you all once again for your support, and I'll see you all next time.